Hi there, and welcome back to another edition of ScaleUp Radio, the podcast inspired by the entrepreneurial ScaleUp system and designed to make navigating our ScaleUp journeys that little bit easier by learning from others' experiences. I'm Kevin Brent, and this week on the show, I'm joined by Mark Sweeney, who founded and sold multiple companies. And key takeaways from this discussion include prioritizing cash flow, hiring for attitude, and the emotional roller coaster of selling a business. Mark shares lessons from scaling Certus, his strategic moves leading to the acquisition, and insights on being a business angel, as well as more about his company, DeNovo Solutions. So make sure you don't miss any future episodes by subscribing to ScaleUp Radio wherever you listen to your podcast. And you can also nominate a guest for ScaleUp Radio if you know somebody with an interesting scale-up story. You can find out how in the show notes. So listen on for a concise and impactful conversation packed with entrepreneurial wisdom from Mark Sweeney. Welcome to another episode of ScaleUp Radio. I'm delighted today to be joined by Mark Sweeney, who is the founder and CEO of DeNovo Solutions. So Mark, welcome to ScaleUp Radio.
Thank you, Kevin.
And congratulations, by the way, on winning the Tech Entrepreneur of the Year award at the Great British Entrepreneur Awards.
Yeah, that was unexpected and a very nice surprise. For something I'm very chuffed about, I have to say.
Yeah, brilliant. Good. No, very well done. And so tell us a little bit about DeNovo. What do you do?
DeNovo's basically a digital transformation consultancy, and we specialise in technology-enabled change using products, Oracle Cloud, and also a product called ServiceNow. So we kind of can put them together to create digital experiences, because we now really live in what we call the experience economy, and we use those technologies to basically create digital experiences either for employees or for citizens to engage or customers to engage with our organisation's services.
So what sort of clients would use your services? What sort of companies?
Well, we've got a long history with public sector and central government that goes way back to the previous company that I founded and that was subsequently acquired, Certus. So we do a lot of work with central government departments, everything from the FCGO, the Treasury, the Cabinet Office, and we've had a various ongoing relationship with the Ministry of Justice, which kind of brought me to Wales 20 years ago. Right. Anyway, so we do a lot of work with central government, but equally over the years, we've done a lot of work with the private sector. Some really, really big organisations in all shapes and sizes across many, many different industries.
Very good. And what sort of stage are you at now with DeNovo?
I'm pleased to know that we're past the startup phase, which is always the most difficult. I think even if you've done it before and you've been successful, you don't necessarily get free pass back to the top of the mountain. Yeah. You start at the bottom again, you still got to work your way up. And, it's still true. You are fighting against the odds of, one company really in 10 only makes it through the first year, and then 50% of those one companies in 10 make it through the 5 years. But we've been going now 2.5 years, and we're really into the growth and scaling up side of things stage now. So we're doing that, but you have to do it in a controlled way. You've got to do it in a controlled way.
Okay. And so what for you defines that difference between the startup phase and the scale-up phase? How do you know when you've come out of one and you're into the other?
I think really it's kind of a numbers game. You've got the traction with your proposition with the client base. You're getting clients, you've got the interest, you're getting contracts. In this case, money talks. If they like what they see, people are going to buy from you, especially if they obviously, it's a value transaction. They can see value that they can derive from their services. So it's a win-win. So when you're really, the order book's really, really full and people are buying into what you're saying, and then it's allowing you to to make looking forward decisions there in terms of investment that you can grow. And I think that's when you're clearly out of it. It's really when you've got traction. I think we've been, I wouldn't say lucky, because I think I'm very much a believer you make your own luck in this game side of things. But to give you some idea what took us with the previous business 6.5 years to do, we've done inside 2 years, by changing the proposition, taking advantage of where technology or cloud technology is moving to, and knowing how to, leverage that technology and the underlying technologies that you hear so much about, like AI and machine learning, but how you create new value propositions moving forward. And we've managed to really kind of, crack it within 2.5 years, and to accelerate.
Yeah, and I'd really like to explore that previous journey that you've had, because I understand you've been through you've been through the cycle more than once, and it said the full cycle from startup through scale up through exit. Through your starting up again, you invest as well. So you've got all different angles of looking at the whole aspect of entrepreneurship. So I'd love to tease out some of your lessons and thoughts.
I mean, well, Denovo is the fourth startup that I've been involved. Well, it's not a startup now, but fourth startup that I've been involved in, and it's the third one that I've actually founded myself. The first one I was part of an executive team that didn't work out too well, but you learn the lessons and you move forward. And then the second one was a case of a really, really good idea it's quite commonplace these days around employee performance metrics, but we did it 14 years ago, and it was a case of a good idea, but too far in front of the market at the time. It's all in vogue today, but it wasn't 14 years ago. From there, and then the one that kind of really made us successful was a company called Certus Solutions, and some of it was by serendipity, being in the right place at the right time, but it's a case of also seeing the opportunity. And Certus was the first company that in the UK that implemented Oracle cloud applications. We really brought that to the UK 2011. Okay. So, a very long time ago. In fact, when we came to the UK, we didn't actually call it cloud then. That's how early we got in. Yeah. But it's a case of pure textbook play, first mover advantages, knowing the market, knowing the segment, knowing the customer needs, knowing the industry direction. A case of how far in front of the market are you? You can, if you're too far in front, like I did with the second company, it wasn't successful. It ran out of cash. It was a case with this, knowing could we convince the market of this new product that was coming along from the big tech giants, and position ourselves accordingly. And we managed to do that before the cash ran out. And of course, you're in a position then you're creating the narrative, you're defining the market. And in the tech scene, obviously, you've got the big players and the different niches around. And what we could actually do is really define the market space, because we knew the people that would eventually become our competitors. Really, we had the insight on how they operated, how they would work, and what they would do. And we knew it would take them longer to get to market than ourselves. And we could build a company, and very much the same principles we have with Denovo. We very much look that you build the brand and the brand values, and very much a big thing for us is around delivery excellence, because it's a combination of professional services, people and skills and how you interact, as well as building intellectual property, in the form of products that can sit on top of these cloud solutions that you can sell moving forward. So it's knowing lots of dimensions, but if you build a brand and you create desirability in it, obviously at some point there is potential for that interesting conversation that somebody wants it and they will acquire it.
Very good. So before we get to the acquisition bit, what are some of the things that you learned about scaling Certis? So I think you got up to something like 115 employees, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. So cliche, cash is king. It's all about cash flow. It's just funny when you don't need the cash seems to be plentiful. When you do need the cash doesn't seem to be there. So I think the biggest thing and the biggest learning that we've always took forward, because you're always learning, you'd never know all the answers. I suppose this time around with DeNovo, a decade on, we're so on our numbers. We know where every penny's going and when it's going in, coming into the company, and when it's going out of the company. Yeah. So when we can see problems, we don't wake up and go, oh my God, I've got a problem tomorrow, I'm out of cash. How do you make payroll? You're looking at it and going, well, potentially I've got a problem 3 months out. So now I've got some time to focus, make a correction, eliminate the problem without, the panic on setting. So I think the cash is king is number one, without a doubt. The second thing is very much you've got to find the right employees. We talk, it's very cliche again, war on talent. It's been going on for a long time, but I think very much what we look for now and what we did then. And the biggest lesson is it's all about people's behaviours. If you come and work with us, you're building something. You've got to want to build something. This is what we do. We're building a company, a great Welsh business. This is something we're proud about doing. Yeah. And that we need to find the people with that similar mindset. Technical skills we can teach people. You can't teach people great attitude, whether you're just coming into the industry or whether you're at the, should we say, the tail end of maybe your career. It is about attitude, about great attitude. And, it's better to take your time to find the right people, the right fit to build a team, because, one of the secrets of being an entrepreneur is you surround yourself with people that are better than you. Yeah. And you've got to be so you become a really good talent spotter. That's and
what tips? Yeah, what have you learned about spotting talent that you could share?
It comes in all shapes and sizes. It really does, and it can come from the most unexpected places. A classic example, and this is going back to something like 2009. So we're really going back to 15 years ago. When you're starting off, your biggest cost is your people, and of course you've got no money. Yeah. So you're trying to think how can you solve that equation. And I was just standing in the school playground one day, and I was looking around myself, and I was looking at all of these mums dropping off their children, and they were ex-accountants, ex-HR people, ex-payroll people, sometimes barristers or lawyers that just put their careers on hold, and they really wanted to get back into the workplace, not full-time, but wanted something to do, which was great because I didn't need them full-time. So you could pro-rata salaries and access a really big untapped talent pool. And, that was something that we hooked on really well, and we kind of stumbled across that, but that's something that's always stuck with us for many, many years. Another one is ex-military, brilliant organisational skills, fantastic organisation and discipline, rigour, because it's in their DNA. So, again, behaviours, desire, you can find the talent from places that perhaps you haven't traditionally looked at. Yeah. And now with DeNovo, unfortunately, because of the state of the country, and I'm not just talking Wales, the UK generally, we just haven't got enough young talent coming into the industry. So our focus on what we've done with DeNovo, being a Welsh company, we've kind of linked up with the local colleges and schools, College Gwent being the biggest one with the campuses it's got across South Wales. Right. And we have a partnership with the University of South Wales, and we take apprentices, giving people opportunity to come and work with us. And we take advantage of, which I think is the Welsh Government's apprenticeship scheme, which is fantastic, which is really about we're taking people with decent A-level standards out of school, not after 3 A stars, but should we say, you kind of your BCC kind of, which I think is the criteria they're looking at. So something that I think is achievable for probably everyone if they put their mind to it from there. And then we link up with the University of South Wales. They come and work with us 4 days a week. We teach them project management skills, technical skills, Oracle and ServiceNow, which are really top industry products. We teach them those skills. And on the 5th day, they go to the University of South Wales and they do an approved digital degree by the government. And the beauty about being in Wales is the government actually fund all of that degree. So the individual doesn't come out the end of it with a very, very large debt. Yeah. So it's a fantastic scheme and something we've committed to. Really, we're saying for the next 5 years, we will take on 3 apprentices a year through that channel. And then also linking up and with the universities around accessing the graduate pool, slightly more mature, different skill set, because obviously they've got more knowledge and more life experience. But again, bringing them in, because we've got to get people into this industry. And it's difficult, it's an investment, but if we could all do that, I think that's the only way we're really going to get out of this at the end of the day.
Yeah. And also, though, you're rather than just sitting there and going, "Woe is me! LinkedIn ads aren't working and recruitment consultant fees are too much." You've found a way that you strategically can access a pool of talent and create those relationships. And I guess as well, you get a chance to see how they perform over the period of their apprenticeship, and then you can take them on or not as you wish.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think it's the most. I've been in IT 35 years, and I think it's the most the opportunities for young people to come into this industry are greater than ever. Yeah, I mean, you really would have to do something wrong, for a way to not end up with a job at the end of it. And for us, we're a growing business, so as much as we can, we're really guaranteeing the people that come and stay with us that we'll look after them, develop them, and we want them to stay and help build a great Welsh business, which is what we're trying to do.
Great. So you talked about cash. We started to talk about people in terms of finding the talent. How about building the right culture and keeping on top of everything as you grew, particularly, I guess, getting up to 115 people?
Yeah, it does change. I suppose for me as an individual, the best time is when you're at the kitchen table with a blank sheet of paper going, "We're going to do it all again." And I just find that moment rather magical, really. And the rest of it at times can seem a bit more difficult and a bit of a slog, but I try and grab hold of that for as long as possible, because it doesn't last very long. But I don't think you don't have a when you're starting up a company, obviously there's lots of things you've got to do, but one of the things you don't have on the checklist is create culture. Tick. It doesn't work that way. I think it's the I surround people around me that are, I suppose, behaviourally or have similar views as I do. Equally, as I said before, they are better than me in certain areas, and I give them that ability to fly. I think that's quite important. But I'm a big believer in empowerment and people going to make something happen. That's important. Again, it's very cliche. It's the Steve Jobs quote, isn't it? We don't hire smart people then to tell them what to do. We get them to tell us what to do. Saw that on LinkedIn today. It's another timely reminder, but it's quite right. You've got to create that. I do think it's very much just leadership from the top. It is how you set the scene, how you conduct yourself, and what you create and what you want to see created. And when you see things perhaps not going in the direction that you want to go, you do intervene. But I think behind a great culture is and really leadership style and stuff like that is it does come from the top, and it's but it is about good communication. It's about telling people. We're a very transparent company.
Right.
You know, we have quarterly meetings. We bring, and 2 of those quarterly meetings a year, we physically bring everybody together.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer about being around people. You know, to me, we're humans, we're social animals. Zoom and Teams is great for the quick calls in there, but you know, if you're really looking to make things happen, like when we originally built the company and I brought the initial kind of people around me, you know, we were sitting in the garage with a couple of Amazon whiteboards and post-it boards and, you know, cups of coffee and pizza and drawing lines on a board. You know, that you can't do that over Zoom. You've got to be, and I say to the young people, it's really important, be in the room. When we're designing, especially when we're designing something or we're going to do something, you want to be in that room, see how it's done, because you can sponsor people on degree courses, put them on, you know, pay for courses and things like that. But I'm a big old school believer of working alongside people that are really experienced. And that's how I learn, you know, keep your eyes open and listen and question. If you don't understand, there's nothing wrong with that, but be in the room, be part of it. You know, I think that's a key thing. And I think it comes back to that communication thing. If we remind people, and to me, that's a foundation stone of great culture. It's not everything, but I think it's let things evolve naturally where possible. Don't force it.
Yeah, very good. And you kind of hinted at it, but strategically, what sort of things do you think you got right, particularly with Certis, I guess?
I would say with DeNovo as well. I think I can honestly say that, really, because of the speeds there. I think we've got a bit of a knack about seeing how an opportunity and how a market in this sector would evolve, and potential customers' buying behavior. So understanding there really is the need, and if you can deliver your service, your value proposition at the right point in time, it will be successful. It's understanding that, and then actually understanding all the other players, including your competitors, that make up that ecosystem and where they will be. And I think that's something we've not just done once, we've done it twice now, you know, and I think we just have developed that ability, shall we say. I just think with DeNovo it's been more fine-tuned
So
really to be able to do that.
Is that a kind of gut feel approach, or is that a rigorous analysis of, you know, lots of matrices and whatever else, and there, we're here, and there's the gap, or how do you know, give us a little bit of insight into how you go about it?
I think with Certis, to be honest, we did it on the back of a fag packet, metaphorically, and we did a bit of due diligence. We checked a few data points. I'm only talking about 4 or 5 data points in there. And then when we did DeNovo, I was under some legal obligations from the acquisition, so I couldn't do anything for a good couple of years. And actually, it was my former COO said, as I've got time on my hands, instead of watching Netflix box sets, he says, why don't you write it all down properly this time? So actually I did. So, and while I'm not condoning writing a 80-page business plan, because it was, when I was thinking about it and doing it, I was coming through the back end of COVID. I just had obviously just a lot of time on my hands. I just had that time to actually look at things in a much more rigorous detail. You know, and all I was really doing was just dotting the I's, crossing the T's of my gut feel, really. This is what I believe. This is where I think it will happen. Can I just evidence that? Because I had the time to do it, because I couldn't actually go forward and do something because of the tail end of the previous business. But I could actually just have the time to really, and that brings a lot of clarity to thought. I found that's something I had a much more plan. So I do actually have, I think it's 120-page business plan, which actually starts from the very beginning of Denovo right to the exit, which is obviously many years away. But I've kind of had the time to think that all through and look at data points. And I do revisit it about every year just to see where I am, because the thing is with the technology and your propositions and the marketplace, we're living in a world where you're dealing with technology that is evolving every 3 months.
Yeah.
So, I originally wrote the business plan for Denovo over 2 years ago. So we've gone through, eight iterations, and okay, everybody's gone AI kind of mad at the moment, but, AI's been around for about 35 years. It's just now become consumerized. It's accessible. Accessible is the right word to the general population, where it hasn't been before. So,
yes,
it's not the biggest kept secret in the IT world. It's been around for a long time. It's just now become accessible. But again, is how people then use that technology moving forwards, and it's being able to see that. And we have to see, how does that impact our propositions? How do we incorporate into our propositions? What do we need to change? Where we need to go? And it's also classic hockey stick. Once you're getting the traction and success, there's no time to breathe. You kind of got to reinvent yourself again, because your competition will catch up with you, and you're trying to stay ahead all the time. So it's just that kind of thinking.
So that's I was going to ask you a little bit about that, because you're in both companies, you're sort of trying to create that first mover advantage, and you've just clearly outlined, it's not a case of one off and then that's it. You've got to constantly evolve and stay ahead to maintain that advantage.
Yeah, I mean, even in Certus, when we were kind of the first SME really pushing this product that became Oracle Cloud, as I said, 12, 13 years ago. And it was great for that. We had that year where we really were the only ones really pushing it, really investing in it. But it began to get traction and everybody else comes in. But what you've got is a year's knowledge, year's experience, and that's an awful lot. And what you're relying on, betting on, is even the bigger companies won't invest in it as fast as they say they will. Yeah. And while they're talking about it, you're actually reinventing yourself again. And by the time they get to where you were, you're somewhere else. So, and because you're seen as a voice for that product, that market segment, people will listen to you, and you can, push the narrative further. That's what it's all about. And then you have to do it again, and then you just don't ever stop. But you've got it's a mindset thing.
Yeah, good. So I'd love to explore a little bit about the acquisition, and maybe what are some of the key things that you learned about going through that acquisition process.
I suppose with Certus, we always set it up to be sold at some point from day one. That's what we could see the opportunity. We knew the behaviours, and we knew at some point someone would come in and approach us. And so what we knew that was the end game. What we didn't go was looking for it, because our focus needed to be on building on something of value, and all our focus needed to be focused on that, rather than going to look for someone to buy us. If you don't have something of value, no one's going to buy you. If you build a desirable brand, become the market leader, you have the success, it's backed up by the numbers. And Certus and Denovo are all self-funded. Okay. Then you will become on someone's radar at a certain point. And what you're looking to do is not necessarily, we weren't looking to sell the company and then to walk away. We were looking to sell the company to take it to another level that we couldn't, we didn't have the resources to do, just had the ideas to do from that perspective. So we didn't go looking for it. We were approached a number of times. To be honest, you learn pretty quickly about, should we say, flushing out the people that aren't really, really serious about it, because your time is your most precious asset, and you're being dragged away talking about something that may happen rather than focusing on building that great company, and to me, our focus would need to be there. But when somebody did come to us and approach us to buy it, big American outfit. What we did was I basically engaged my CFO and head of business development, because I obviously been a CEO doing business development, you kind of end up really, I wouldn't say you're necessarily the chief executive officer, you were the chief sales officer, I suppose, all the time. But I allowed those people to deal with the potential at that point, the potential transaction, because it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. Yeah. It took a good year from the initial approach to getting to that point where you're saying, look, are you going to do this or not? Because otherwise we're going to go and do something else. And they decided they put to us a proposal that was acceptable and went forward from there. But what that allowed me to do was carry on winning business, keeping the wheels of the bus going, focusing on keeping that, that brand, developing that business, not getting distracted, till I needed to. Otherwise, you can, you get distracted, you take your foot off the gas and something drops off the car as you're going along. So, and you don't notice it, and that could be fatal. So you don't want that to be the case. So it was very much about, I had people that effectively sold the company for me. Yeah. And I focused on that. I mean, lesson learned. I don't think any founder, entrepreneur is really the best person to sell the company. I personally think there are people you need to trust, but there are experts in it that can do that. And I'm lucky enough to know a couple of the good guys who are very good at doing that kind of thing for me if and when we ever get to that point.
And do you say that because as the founder we're too emotionally invested in the business from that perspective?
I can speak for myself. I think generally speaking, and I've been one of the nicest things about selling the company is that I found myself in a very small gene pool of entrepreneurs that have actually done an exit, and it's a very small pond of people. And I would honestly say all of those people have gone through the same emotional drain, because yes, if you're lucky enough, you will make some money from it. I don't think anybody that I know basically starts up creating businesses because it's all about the money. It's about solving a problem, and you become fascinated by solving the problem. But the byproduct is if you do make the money, but once you've signed on the dotted line, that's not yours anymore. And those, well, for me, nearly 10 years of investing in building this dream, it doesn't feel the same. It's not the same anymore. So it's and I think what you have to do is business isn't a place for emotion. You've got to look at it on the facts basis, and I think you've got to do everything you can to take the emotional element off the table and just look at it quite factually.
Yeah. Good.
And having independent people do that is a plus. And also, as I said to you, it goes back to my thing at the beginning, surround yourself with people that are better than you. These people were experts and much better at me than selling a business. I knew what I wanted and where we wanted to be, but I wasn't the person necessary to do it. But I knew someone who could do it for me. So
and what surprised you the most about the exit process?
Surprised me the most. I think jokingly, my experience, it was a little bit like you see in the films. You finally go into that room and there's one set of lawyers all down one side of the table. There's one set of lawyers down the other side of the table. And, and it's like, oh, I've seen this on telly. and it's a bit like that. There's a lot of horse trading across the two sides, and till you kind of say, stop it, enough's enough. This is what it is. Can we agree on this and move forward? So, yeah, I would say it was a little bit surprising. It was just like you see on the telly. For me anyway.
Yeah. So what was I'm sure there must have been some low points in that year of due diligence and everything. So what was the low point for you?
I think, to be fair, it wasn't a low point during the due diligence, because with Certus, we had always set it up to be sold. So we were very, and to be honest, it's the only way I know how to run a business anyway. We were very fastidious, I think is the right word, on governance. I think if it's not about delivery excellence and customer advocacy, it's about good governance. Yeah. And that comes for me as well, because when you're a CEO or a founder, and like Denovo now, we've got 51 people working for me. I've got a lot of people I'm responsible for, and they need to have faith in me, and also my way of demonstrating that back is showing that the company is run properly. So we already had the data room set up from really day one. So we didn't have anything to worry about. And we would audit that data room at least once, possibly twice a year. All contracts have been signed. Yeah. Everybody's got an employment contract signed. Our policies are all in place. All the things, the tick boxes that you will go through a due diligence process and an acquisition. We weren't worried about that, because we weren't running around, scrabbling around for it. It was, boom, tell us what you want to know. They would go through, we want to know about this customer. Bang. I was still a believer back then in the first company of big paper files as well as the electronic backup. Paper filed. What do you want? Contract signed. Here's this. Change request. Signed. All of those kind of things. Okay, you didn't go as far as print out all the invoices and stuff, but you could go onto the accounts, see all the invoices. You've got copies of all your VAT returns, all your PA, all your taxes. Everything's just there. We were just on it. We could literally like that. It was just there. And I think that's really important. I hear a lot about people selling companies, or they're lucky enough to get into that process, but they're then scrabbling around for the data room. To me, it's part of your governance day in, day out. Set it up from day one, embed it into your processes. And if you're fortunate, or that's what you want to do, is to sell the company at a later point, you're going to be ready for it.
Very good. Excellent. And as you've kind of sort of said already, really, and there's that, I can't remember who said it, but great companies are bought, not sold, aren't they? Which goes to your point of, you didn't go out looking for it, but you made the company such the point that somebody could find it and then they would want to buy it. So
absolutely.
Good. So switching a little bit now to maybe as a business angel, what do you look for in companies that you want to invest in?
First and foremost, it's the people. It's always the people. I mean, I'm not a big business angel. I'm a small time investor from there. Deal sizes to me are 25, 50,000 pound, that kind of deal size. But fundamentally, it's the people that are running it. Having done running a company, founding a company, running a company, developing it, it's hard work. Not all people last the distance. It's not a sprint. It's a very long marathon, and probably there's a marathon after that and a marathon after that. So and it's not a criticism against people. Some people are just not cut out for that, and equally sometimes it's not their fault. Life gets in the way. Things happen. That can derail you, but you've got to start with the people. to me. So I look at the people, I look at their passion for it. If you're not passionate about it, if you can't be passionate about your business, why is anybody else going to be? So real passion for the business. But it's passion with credibility. It can't be fictitious numbers and, blue skies dreaming, oh, we're going to conquer the world, we're going to find the next unicorn and all of that. To me, nonsense, to be honest. And then, I'm in the Charlie Munger camp. If someone starts quoting EBITDA to me, I'm switched off in 15 seconds. It's just the most nonsensical measure of value of a company ever created. And I have sat in room with lawyers going, so I don't have to pay interest, I don't have to pay tax. Someone tell me, it's great, and you're valuing the company, it's just nonsense. I think depending where you are, free flow cash at the end of the month, how much you're generating that's not being required for reinvestment, that's just sitting in your bank account, that's a really good indicator of where you are on the journey, and obviously multiples depending on different factors, but I'm more in that kind of camp. So from that side of things, so I think that's a big thing for me. People first really, and it's really convincing them. And if they've usually got a couple of lieutenants around them, I do look at their behaviours, the body language. I think I do now through experience, unfortunately. I do due diligence on the people that goes beyond company's house. I want to know. I've seen companies, and unfortunately I have fallen victim for it, I'm not perfect, to companies claiming they are EIS certified, because obviously using the tax breaks to refund the money background is really, really key, especially at my kind of level. And they're not EIS compliant. When people put things on PowerPoint slides and pitch decks, you better be able to stand behind those things 100%. There's no point putting on the bottom, copyright, blah, 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 blah. You're responsible for that. That's a legal document. That's misrepresentation. And, even at my level, I will find it. Yeah. It doesn't take a lot, and once you know where to look and where to cross-check against things, cross-check, but I do basic checks, LinkedIn, Company's House, London Gazette, just checking all the things. You've got to be able to stand behind what you're putting on those things. And I know for a fact when we were acquired and stuff like that, there was a lot of due diligence done on myself and the other directors, and quite rightly so.
Brilliant. Good. Well, I could carry on talking for hours to you, Mark, and really appreciate you sharing your.
No, thanks, Kevin, for the opportunities.
No, it's great. So, couple of questions, if I may, before we wrap up. What's the legacy you want to leave with Denovo? Where do you want
I think for me with Denovo, it's very much about it's about building a really good, sustainable Welsh business, and can I get as many young people now into this? It is a great industry. It's a fantastic industry, and that's what I enjoy doing, really. Once I can understand them, but I do enjoy it, and I just think it's that's what kind of drives me, really. It's still delivering great service to customers and all of those things, but I don't think anybody kind of really remembers you about that, and everybody say they do that. But I think what we're actually demonstrating down here and doing is we're really trying our hardest, bring young people into this industry. And yes, we're not one of the big companies that can hire 100 apprentices, and we never will be. But, if we're taking 3 people every year, and we've already got 6 working for us, and we're just about to do the next 3. Now we've got 9. It's at the moment it's 1/5 the company, and we're going to double in the next year. I think that's the key thing. That's the small contribution I leave behind.
Excellent, good. So a couple of quick fire sort of questions. If you could go back to your younger self, what advice would you give yourself?
It's a team game. It's a team game. And when I was straight out of school, in the 80s, I hadn't been equipped really with the skills to know that you're part of a team in the work environment. And I was too much of a loner, isolated. But it is all about being in a team.
Okay, great. There any resources that you'd recommend for other entrepreneurs to hook into, whether they be podcasts, books, anything else that you could recommend?
I think always be reading. I'm not necessarily saying that. I mean, I've got a massive library. I don't read every book. I tend to buy books and read a certain chapter or something. Follow people. You're always learning. You don't have all the answers. Keep an open mind to different perspectives. You might not agree with people, but have an open mind to listen to people. I think get involved, be a part of a community in any small way you can. I'm not saying you have to go networking every night, and to be honest, you probably don't want to. You just want to go home. But, I was lucky enough, as I said, through the Great British Entrepreneur Awards. And, even before I was lucky enough to win the Wales Tech Entrepreneur of the Year, I got to meet other entrepreneurs and other points of view. And it's quite nice mixing with those individuals, because you're just learning and just different people's perspectives.
Yeah, fantastic, great. And sort of on that theme, who's had the most influence on you as a business leader or as an entrepreneur, do you think?
The people that have always had the most influence on me is my mum and dad, because they weren't entrepreneurs, they were just middle class people. But myself, my sister, my brother, I have to say this, we have great work ethics.
Yeah.
And that's installed in our mum and dads. We do graft. And I think that's the key thing from that side of things. In terms of business leaders, and I think all different ones. I mean, I laughed at, I became a big follower years ago of Charlie Munger, because I used to love what he used to say. I used to buy into that, and that's probably something that a lot of people may not have heard of. But I think you learn lessons from all sorts of people. Richard Branson about branding, positioning, Virgin brand. I mean,
yeah.
I struggle to think of anyone who's done anything better. Over the years, from that perspective. So I think it comes in all shapes and sizes. But so I can't remember the young man's name. The gentleman who founded Gymshark.
Yep.
Most recently, the younger generation, and obviously a lot more successful than me. But again, listening to him and his perspectives on things, I found really interesting. As I said, I'm far from have all the monopoly on good ideas, and it's just listening and being open-minded about others and taking. I think everybody's got something to offer, and you take the best bits from lots of different people.
Yeah, he's Gymshark's local to us in Worcestershire. Ben Francis is
that's it. Ben Francis. Yeah. If you're listening, Ben, big fan.
Good. All right. So that's absolutely fantastic. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation, Mark.
Thank you, Kevin.
Very much for sharing your lessons and your experiences. If people would like to get hold of you or find out more about Denovo, what's the best way for them to do that?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm easily found. If you reach out to me on LinkedIn and through the Denovo Solutions website, www.de-novo-solutions.com, there's a contact page. But if you want to talk to me personally, just reach out to LinkedIn. I do get flooded, but I try to get around to people from there, so you can pick me up from there.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. We'll put those details into the show notes. So, Mark Sweeney, thank you very much for being my guest on ScaleUp Radio today.
Thank you, Kevin.
I hope you enjoyed that discussion, and if you're building and scaling your own business, you might well be interested in our book, The Entrepreneurial ScaleUp System. And it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's a practical handbook around scaling a business in a structured way. And you can order a copy on all your favorite online retailers, including an audio version, or you can find it and other supporting resources on our website, www.esusgroup.co.uk. That's esusgroup.co.uk, which is esusgroup.co.uk.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.